Anybody knows about this thing? Anybody? These are the channels. I'll explain later. There are different channels in your EEG device. These are the channel names. So when you capture the, EEG, subject means subject in medical study, biomedical study is a person. Name of person, number of persons means number of subjects. Number of human being is a number of subjects. So from a particular person, you capture EEG, it goes to feature extraction, you create the feature vectors, then you classify those features, and it can be used for the different applications for controlling the devices or solving the problem of brain disorder or disability, or you can also generate some feedback signal and give feedback to human brain again. And this completes the closed loop. So this is just an example of BCI. Why it is BCI? Because you are capturing the brain signal, generating the command, and some command is also going back to the brain. And this is why it's a closed loop called as brain computer interface. So brain computer interface does not necessarily have to have a closed loop. Brain computer interface may have open loop also. It may not always have closed loop. It means the feedback signal wherever needed can be given back to the human brain wherever required. Otherwise it is always not there. So brain, as I mentioned in the beginning, is it includes billions of neurons, around 100 billions of neurons, and those individual nerve cells, neurons are connected to one another by dendrites and axons. Every time we think, see, as I mentioned, that there are 100 billions of neurons inside your human brain, hundreds of billions, more around 100 billions. And those neurons are structured in layers, in the groups, in different groups of neurons. So whenever we do something, whenever we think something, whenever we feel something, whenever we move something, whenever we recall something, whenever we remember something, whenever our mood changes, we are happy, we are upset, we are excited, we are anxious, in all different activities, different moods, the different value of brain signal is generated, produced, and therefore our neurons which are there inside the brain, they are in the work. Those neurons are activated, they'll produce some signal, they'll generate some signal whenever we do something, whenever we think something. This is the basis of brain computer interface. How can we interface the brain with computer? We want to control a robot. So when we think that, we want to control that thinking has to get some meaningful information from the brain, some part of the brain, not from all parts of brain. Which part of the brain? We'll also understand which part of the brain is very important. Remember, not all the part. If I'm moving something, it is probably associated with frontal area. Frontal area. Frontal area, remember, if I'm imagining something, power of imagination, not the frontal area. This backside is called as occipital area. Occipital area is the area of human brain, almost backside, that connects to central nervous system, and this thing that is responsible for vision related, imagination related tasks. So all the neurons are at work whenever we do something, whenever we think something, whenever we move something, whenever we act something. And this is what is done in this particular diagram. So the work of neurons is carried out by small electrical signals, very small amount of electrical signal. In case of EEG, small amount of electrical signal in case of EEG, and that is transferred from neuron to neuron very fast. The signals are generated by, how the signals are generated? Because there are different potentials, electrical potentials, electrical voltages produced by those ions or membranes of each neuron, and the difference between the adjacent neuron potential is called as potential difference, right? And that is generated as electrical potential, which is the basis of brain computing or brain computer interface. So let's understand it very easily. Very this is very interesting. Whatever we do, some part of brain, inside the brain, neurons start stimulating, neurons start exciting, neurons start responding, neurons start acting. And that action or a work of neuron stimulates something, produces something, responds something to the stimuli. What is stimuli? We are watching something, we are hearing something, we are seeing something, we are meeting somebody. So, you know, to each stimuli, whether we are meeting somebody, whether we are watching some picture, we are watching some disaster, we are watching some beautiful scene, under each circumstances, you know, your neurons will respond to the stimuli and the response will be different. So how those responses are known to be different? It is because of the computing mathematical models have been able to interpret those brain signals, that these are the activities for which there are different types of brain signals produced. So this interpretation, comes from the interface between brain and the computer, called as BCI. Look at this picture very carefully. Very, very interesting picture. This is a structure of brain. Look at the different area. If you look at the picture here, this side is a frontal area for brain. And then comes, look at parietal area, and just below it, there is an area called as temporal area. Just look at here, different colors have been given. And here, look at occipital lobe. And there are some central area, cortical area, those areas have not been highlighted. I have just included four major parts, major areas of brain. The front side, frontal lobe, then comes parietal lobe, below it, temporal lobe, and just backside behind it is occipital lobe. I was explaining you about occipital. Look at the occipital lobe carefully. Vision, when you see something, when you visualize something, visual related something, is associated with the occipital lobe. I will give one interesting example. Hope you will love it. When you are in mind wandering stage, what do you mean by mind wandering? Can anybody answer? What is mind wandering? When you are attending some lecture, we are doing some work, you're not able to pay attention. Your mind is going somewhere else. You are thinking about something else, somewhere else, something else is mind wandering. So, do you know that? How do we study mind wandering? Mostly from this occipital area. Because whenever you do mind wandering, you visualize something. You are either thinking about some picture, you are thinking about meeting with your friend, you are thinking about some incidents, you are thinking about some event, you are thinking about some place, you are thinking about, your home, your university, or your friend, whatever. So you are visualizing something. And therefore, do you know which part of brain is studied? If you want to study about vision related ability, whether the vision related ability is more, higher, reducing, increasing because of some activities, you need to focus into the occipital area. Then comes, look at here, frontal area. I already explained you motory cortex. So all movement related tasks, motory task, all motory tasks are associated with frontal area. And remember, not the completely frontal area. Remember, that also we'll explain when we discuss about the complete brain, EEG, EMG, MEG. The complete part is not responsible for motory task. This particular part, look at here, is speech. When you are speaking something, is responsible because of this area. Frontal area, association, frontal lobe. There are many more. Only two, three major, brain functionalities have been explained here. There are a lot of functionalities, there are a lot of brain activities that we do every day. Speech is also associated here. And then you test something is because of this parietal lobe. And the reading ability, you read something, you understand something is because of this particular area. Similarly, temporal, the signal is recorded. There are biomedical signals, brain signals, EEG, ECG, and these signals are acquired as a raw signals. And you know that most of the computers today are digital computers. they need digital data, and therefore the signal is converted into digital form. The digital input representing the brain signal goes to some signal processing method, because computer has to use some signal processing models. Why? You all understand very well. Two students are there from, from masters of computer science and engineering. All your computer vision tasks, all your applications where some signal is involved, computer does not understand signal. Computer does not classify the signal, you know in terms of analog signal. So how does it do? It converts your signal, or it extracts features from the signal. You need some features. So what does it do? It extracts the features, and those features will be translated into, because we are saying it as a brain computer interface. Remember, what is the job of brain computer interface? It has to either generate some commands to drive the robot, to drive some assistive devices, or to provide some neuro rehabilitation techniques to the patients. So ultimately it will translate the features which are extracted from the signal, and those commands can be used for environment control, communication, movement control. Robotic arm can be controlled, can be guided, can be directed, locomotion application, neuro rehabilitation application. What is neuro rehabilitation application? What is movement control application? We'll understand in detail. We are just in the title slide. And then there is something called as rehabilitation. If something is wrong inside the brain, what may be wrong? Some disorder, some disability, where some part of brain has certain disorder, certain disability. You can correct that disorder or disability to some extent. How you will correct? By generating some signal and feeding to the brain as a feedback signal. We will understand in detail. So this particular picture is representing a brain computer interface, where brain is interface with the computer, and the computer can generate, computing device can generate certain commands, or can also be used to generate feedback signal to correct, or to be used in diagnosis or prevention of certain brain related disease like brain tumor, Alzheimer, Parkinson, etc. So let us go to, let's talk about very briefly about the course. The course description was already sent to Professor Sylvia. Hope you must have received the course description. This particular course will make you understand, will give you adequate, understanding of the importance of cognitive science, the importance of BCI, exposure to BCI. What is BCI? How does BCI work? Where are BCI, used, and how it is implemented? What are the challenges? What are the research opportunities? All these things you will be able to understand from this course, and also to uncover specific applications of BCI, especially in the neuroscience related fields. And to understand the challenges, opportunities, I have already mentioned of the cognitive science and brain computer interface. This is a 24 hours course carrying 4 CFU, credit. So 6 hours I will be doing online, and then remaining number of hours we'll do in person when I'm there, when I will be there next month in your university. There I'll give, before I arrive there, I'll give you some home assignment. Do not, get afraid of, oh my god, again home assignment, homework. It's not like that. I'll give some tasks for your review, so that my objective is to help you, how to write a critical review, how to start writing a research paper, what should be the research writing approach in the area of cognitive science and BCI. That is also my objective. So what I will do, I will give you some homework or the assignment, and when I come there, when I reach in your university campus, I will help you that how that review can help you in writing the research paper. So You just complete, you attend all the lectures, complete the homework given to you, and then a certificate on 4 CFU credit will be given by, will be awarded by me, on the official, certificate pattern. So then the major topics will be introduction to cognitive science. I have already mentioned IoT is smart sensing, AI intervention. What is the role of artificial intelligence? That also we will discuss, because as you understand, the main, you know, what I'll say, main component of cognitive science, as I have mentioned in the beginning, cognitive science is the study of mind. And then what did I say about mind? Mind is something which is dynamic nature of brain. So brain is a central theme. Brain is a central point. So what do you do? From brain, you capture brain signals. And how do you interpret those brain signals? Those brain signals are interpreted, because see, when you capture the brain signal, brain is the most complex organ in the body, human body. Hope you all understand it very well. Brain is the most complex organ, and therefore huge complexity is there. So you will get huge amount of data, and whenever there is a huge amount of data, everybody of you must be understanding we need to apply some AI models, machine learning models, to identify, to understand the data, to interpret the data, so that meaningful information can be converted from the data and can be used for certain applications. So the applications of cognitive science in BCI, that can be used to study brain rehabilitation. What do you mean by brain rehabilitation? We'll understand in coming lectures. Neurological disorder and disability, operation of robotic prosthetic arms, P300 BCI. P300 BCI is an important BCI used for, assisting the people who are suffering with certain disability, and they need certain, help, assistance from the robotic or, prosthetic arms in their daily lives at homes. So this is very popularly used, very practically used, called as P300 BCI. So we'll try to keep at least one hour or 90 minutes talk on P300 BCI. We'll also understand rehabilitation, disorder and disability in detail, with certain case studies, with certain examples. I have been, rather, we have been doing some research in this particular area. So I'll try to explain these topics with practical results, practical examples, not just theory, because theory, will make you boring. So I'll try to bring some practical results with some evidences that can help you to better understand the topic, and also can create interest in you for this particular thing. As I have told, finally, we'll also try to touch upon, will try to conclude with understanding some research direction. So when I will reach there in the university, especially in the last 1 or 2 hours or last 3 hours, we will try to understand the research direction of this particular course. Review and assessment, there won't be any structured assignment, structured, quizzes, but I'll give you something, for assessment, that may be related with reading, writing, and review. And I'll be giving you documents, PowerPoint, videos, everything in a folder. So I'll create a folder this evening and put the video and PowerPoint in that folder, and we'll give you the access to everybody, so that that can help you to understand the course contents that we cover in the different lectures. And we'll also try to enhance the research writing skills. That is my objective. So let us begin with cognitive science. Today's lecture is all about understanding the introduction of cognitive science, BCI, and sustainable healthcare. So let's begin with first one, cognitive science. So see, in the cognitive science, there is a term cognition. which is something, connected with mind. So if you Google it, the cognitive science, you may find somewhere written as study of mind. So what is cognitive science? It's an interdisciplinary and scientific study. Remember, now you can't say that brain cannot be studied scientifically. The brain can be studied using scientific approaches, using scientific techniques, using in a scientific manner. And therefore, cognitive science is a study of mind which is carried out in a scientific manner. And of course, study of mind and processes involved in the mind can be also studied, and that interdisciplinary study is called as cognitive science. Studies this cognitive science is a study of intelligence, study of behavior, and with a focus on how nervous system works. What do we mean by nervous system? I will explain today itself in coming slides. Mental faculties, mental domains such as language, perception, memory, attention, reasoning, emotion, these are the different mental faculties of mind, and those things are also studied in a domain called as cognitive science. So you may be wondering now, oh my god, cognitive science, it's not very different area. It studies, language, the ability to perceive, the memory, the ability to pay attention, lower attention, higher attention, reasoning abilities, different types of cognitive abilities, and then emotional related attributes or the properties which are studied by cognitive science. So it's an interdisciplinary study of cognition in humans as well as machines. Cognitive science is studied to understand the principles of intelligence in a better comprehension of mind. I mean, the main idea is to understand the mind in a better way, more proper way, systematic way, structured way, scientific way. And so that it's learning for developing intelligent devices. Why do we study mind? Why do we study brain? So that the devices, the intelligent systems which are controlled by mind, we can easily understand. And to understand how those devices, how those intelligent systems work, we need to understand the mind. We need to understand the brain, and therefore, cognitive science is gaining a lot of importance in a current decade, and this is purely interdisciplinary. So I think this particular picture was already there, the title slide. It includes philosophy. We will explain philosophical aspect, psychological aspect. I mean, not much detail, but we'll understand each domain, to little more extent in coming lectures. Linguistics, dealing with the language and all that. AI, you know it very well. Neuroscience, dealing with nervous system, brain system, because you know that, I hope everybody is aware of the brain, human brain. Any idea? Can anybody, answer that? How many? There are two questions. One is what is the smallest cell of a brain? What is that called as? Smallest, tiniest cell of tiniest element of the brain. What is the name? And how many numbers are there inside the brain? Any answer, if somebody wants to? What is the smallest element of brain called as? I know that everybody knows now these days because we all study neural network, whether at the level of master level or doctoral level. Everybody knows neural network, artificial neural network. So when you say neural network, the basis is a neuron. So neuron is a smallest cell, smallest element inside the brain, and billions. There are some studies that suggest that 84 to 100 billions of neurons are present in the human brain. And therefore, it's very complex. The understanding the human brain is very complex. Those 100 billions of neurons are interconnected with each other, communicate with each other. How do they communicate? How do they respond? How do they respond to stimuli? How do they respond to vision? How do they respond to, light and other stimuli? These are all complex theory, complex, concepts, but it is simplified with the help of neuroscience. Anthropology is how, the human brain is evolved, humanity is evolved. That study is included in the anthropology. All right. So, a study of mind and structure and sections, including, I've already explained, some education, study how people learn. There is some research paper I have included in today's lecture, that is the learning impact affected by the cognitive science? Is the learning impacted by our mind? The answer is yes. Philosophy. What is philosophy? You have seen in the previous slide. Philosophy is an important branch of cognitive science. What is philosophy? Philosophy is the study of knowledge, reality, and existence. And then AI, study of thinking machines and systems. What is psychology? Psychology is study of behavior and the mind. And neuroscience is the study of nervous system. Linguistic, study of language. Anthropology is the general study of human society and the culture. So this particular, slide gives you the description of those areas which are part of what is called as cognitive science. So let's go to, yeah, let me tell you that when you want to study cognitive science more, what are the good resources I have included in this lecture? There are two very good books on cognitive science. The first one, I have given you the links also. Both the links are available here. The MIT Encyclopedia of the Cognitive Sciences, MIT Encyclopedia of the Cognitive Sciences, it is available. And second is the Cognitive Science and Introduction to the Study of Mind. So let us, go to the this one. I just want to, this is available in the MIT, library. This is the book I'm talking about, authored by Wilson and Kale. And this is about MIT Encyclopedia of Cognitive Sciences. It's a very good book, studying about, dealing with all the psychological aspect, philosophical aspect, neuroscience aspect. All these are covered. You see here philosophical, psychological, neuroscience, computational intelligence, linguistics and language, culture, cognition, and evolution. This is a very good book. I have already included the link. Please go through this book. I mean, you will just love this book when you are, interested in knowing about the cognitive science. Based on these two books, number one, this one, and number two, this particular book, I'll give you some homework before I come there at the end of this week. I will give you some homework, little homework, so that, in next 1 month, almost 1 month, 30 days, you can read about these books, not the, complete book, but you can at least read some chapters or some headings or subheadings, and you can prepare something to develop better understanding of cognitive science concept. You see here in the title itself of the book, it writes Cognitive Science Introductions to the Study of Mind. I have already mentioned cognitive science is a study of mind. So, this book, if you look at the table of contents, I think table of contents we can open and see here it talks about exploring the inner space. What is cognitive science? What is digital representation? Philosophical approach, cognitive approach, neuroscience approach, evolutionary approach, linguistic, AI, robotics approach, then philosophical approach. Each approach is explained in detail. So, therefore, I was telling you, if you want to know psychological aspect of cognitive science in detail, if you want to know neuroscience approach of cognitive science in detail, this book is a good book that you can refer. So let's come back again to the PowerPoint. So these are the two books. Now, as I mentioned today, that today's lecture will just give you an overview of all the three important components of the topic. So, cognitive science, I hope you get some idea now that cognitive science is a interdisciplinary, field that covers psychological studies, philosophical way of understanding, philosophical way of learning, philosophical way of evolution, mathematical modeling, neurological concept, neuroscience concept, artificial intelligence, how does machine understand, how does machine work, linguistic approach. All these are covered in a science called as cognitive science. And in coming lectures, we'll cover some more aspect, particularly psychological and neuroscience aspect in more detail, because as I mentioned that we will also include some practical examples of the cognitive science applications. So let us start with the second term called as BCI, that is brain computer interface. So you see here in a brain computer interface picture diagram, there is a major component called as signal processing. Before signal processing, signal acquisition is there, and after signal processing, application interface is there. So applications may include computer, prosthesis, spelling devices, virtual environment. This may be related to robotics applications. This may be related to prosthetic application. This may be related to, robotic arms. May be related to disease and disorder analysis. It may be related to brain tumor detection. It may be related to study of Parkinson disease. It may be related to study of Alzheimer disease, brain disorder and disabilities. So all these are covered in a box called as applications. So applications are external and which is interfaced by the application interface, and then this particular human brain signal is captured through signal acquisition. We'll understand how do we acquire the signal in detail in coming slides and coming lectures. And then the major block you can see is the signal processing. So it is not better to explain the processing, feature extraction and classification in detail here, but let us briefly understand why processing. This would be rather pre-processing. This would be rather pre-processing. You acquire the data is raw data. When you acquire the brain signal using some EEG device or EMG device, that will understand in today only. So first one is to capture the brain data, that is the raw data. So why the pre-processing is needed? Can somebody answer to this? Why is pre-processing needed? Why is pre-processing needed? I would be happy to, let's make it interactive. Otherwise, for 120 minutes, I only will be speaking. I mean, that doesn't look good. So you may either interrupt me by asking a question, or you may respond to some of my questions. So why is pre-processing needed in a signal processing, any signal processing? Someone is working on remote sensing, somebody is working on other applications. So, why pre-processing is needed? Anybody? All right. All right. We'll have a separate window for discussion. I mean, in between the lecture, if you do not want, we can have 30 minutes for discussion either today or in tomorrow's slot. We can have 30 minutes of discussion where you can ask your queries, and then you can discuss on the terminologies or terms related to the topic. All right. So pre-processing is needed because raw data, when you capture, is not suitable for the computer. So you make it proper, you make it appropriate, so that the meaningful information can be interpreted by the computer. So you need to pre-process. When you capture the brain data, raw data, it may have some artifact, it may have some noise, some unwanted signal because of many factors. So that need to be removed, that need to be reduced. And therefore, pre-processing is always needed in any signal processing. and those raw data is not understood by computer. So what is needed? You extract the features, and then you create the feature vector, and then you use certain classifier, and that classifier can classify the different features, different parts of brain for different applications. All right. So what is BCI? BCI is also called as, there are different names, neuronal control interface, NCI. Same thing, neuronal control interface, mind machine interface, because mind is nothing but related to brain and machine is your computer. Direct neural interface or brain machine interface, BMI. All these terminologies are same as brain computer interface. Direct communication, it provides direct communication pathway, direct communication between brain and external device. Look at here. This is the application domain where there will be some external device, and this external device is getting the command or communication directly from the brain through this closed loop system. And therefore, it is providing you the direct communication. The brain computer interface provides direct communication channel, direct communication path between brain and the external device or the application. It aims at researching, why do we use BCI? Why should we study BCI? It is not only for application, but there are a lot of emerging research work going in the area of brain computer interface. A lot of research is going on. It's not only that BCI has reached to its what I can say, emerging applications where where the optimal use of brain computer interface is made. It's not like that. So it is used for research also. Mapping the brain areas, I will explain about what is the meaning of mapping in coming lectures. Augmenting, assisting. What is the meaning of assisting? Assisting the persons, augmenting the performance of, say, particular arm, particular limb is having certain disability. There is some problem in a particular arm, particular motory, body, motory organs, maybe your arm, maybe your leg, and then can that performance be augmented? Can the performance of limb or arm can be augmented with the help of BCI? Is called as augmenting, repairing human cognitive functions. Is there is If there is some disability, if there is some loss of cognitive ability, loss of motory function. Hope you understand motory task. Motory task means what? If I'm moving my hand, blinking my eyes, speaking with the help of my tongue and mouth, listening something with the help of ears. I hope you are very well aware that until and unless our brain allows, brain permits, I will not move the hands. So, what is the motory task? The movement of hands, movement of legs, movement of lips, movement of tongue, everything which is involving some motory application, motory task are the sensory motor functions, and those functions are also controlled by the brain, and therefore the BCI covers that particular aspect also. You can see one interesting picture here, and this is the example of EEG. Now, by this time, I have not explained about the EEG. I believe that you know about EEG. EEG is electroencephalograph, like ECG. ECG is electrocardiograph, which you capture from human heart, related to the signal related to human heart is electrocardiogram, ECG. Similarly, EEG is electroencephalograph, and that is captured from your brain. And how does it look like? It looks like this. Do not worry. I will explain about EEG in detail in today as well as tomorrow's lecture. So in this picture, you can clearly see here that EEG is recorded. What is this FZ, CZ, P3, P4, F3, F4, C3, C4? I will explain. Anybody knows about this thing? Anybody? These are the channels. I'll explain later. There are different channels in your EEG device. These are the channel names. So when you capture the, EEG, subject means subject in medical study, biomedical study is a person. Name of person, number of persons means number of subjects. Number of human being is a number of subjects. So from a particular person, you capture EEG, it goes to feature extraction, you create the feature vectors, then you classify those features, and it can be used for the different applications for controlling the devices or solving the problem of brain disorder or disability, or you can also generate some feedback signal and give feedback to human brain again, and this completes the closed loop. So this is just an example of BCI. Why it is BCI? Because you are capturing the brain signal, generating the command, and some command is also going back to the brain, and this is why it's a closed loop called as brain computer interface. So brain computer interface does not necessarily have to have closed loop. Brain computer interface may have open loop also. It may not always have closed loop. It means the feedback signal wherever needed can be given back to the human brain wherever required. Otherwise it is always not you know there. So brain, as I mentioned in the beginning, is it includes billions of neurons, around 100 billions of neurons, and those individual nerve cells, neurons, are connected to one another by dendrites and axons. Every time we think, see, as I mentioned, that there are 100 billions of neurons inside your human brain, hundreds of billions, more around 100 billions, and those neurons are structured in layers, in the groups, in different groups of neurons. So whenever we do something, whenever we think something, whenever we feel something, whenever we move something, whenever we recall something, whenever we remember something, whenever our mood changes, we are happy, we are upset, we are excited, we are anxious, in all different activities, different moods, the different value of brain signal is generated, produced, and therefore our neurons which are there inside the brain, they are in the work. Those neurons are activated, they'll produce some signal, they'll generate some signal whenever we do something, whenever we think something. This is the basis of brain computer interface. How can we interface the brain with computer? We want to control a robot. So when we think that, we want to control that thinking has to get some meaningful information from the brain, some part of the brain, not from all parts of brain. Which part of the brain? We'll also understand. Which part of the brain is very important. Remember, not all the part. If I'm moving something, it is probably associated with frontal area. Frontal area. Frontal area, remember, if I'm imagining something, power of imagination, not the frontal area. This backside is called as occipital area. Occipital area is the area of human brain, almost backside, that connects to central nervous system, and this thing that is responsible for vision related, imagination related tasks. So all the neurons are at work whenever we do something, whenever we think something, whenever we move something, whenever we act something. And this is what is done in this particular diagram. So the work of neurons is carried out by small electrical signals, very small amount of electrical signal. In case of EEG, small amount of electrical signal in case of EEG, and that is transferred from neuron to neuron very fast. The signals are generated by, how the signals are generated? Because there are different potentials, electrical voltages produced by those ions or membranes of each neuron, and the difference between the adjacent neuron potential, is called as potential difference, right? And that is generated as electrical potential, which is the basis of brain computing or brain computer interface. So let's understand it very easily. Very, this is very interesting. Whatever we do, some part of brain, inside the brain, neurons start stimulating, neurons start exciting, neurons start responding, neurons start acting, and that action or a work of neuron stimulates something, produces something, responds something to the stimuli. What is stimuli? We are watching something, we are hearing something, we are seeing something, we are meeting somebody. So, you know, to each stimuli, whether we are meeting somebody, whether we are watching some picture, we are watching some disaster, we are watching some beautiful scene, under each circumstances, you know, your neurons will respond to the stimuli, and the response will be different. So how those responses are known to be different? It is because of the computing mathematical models have been able to interpret those brain signals, that these are the activities for which there are different types of brain signals produced. So this interpretation, comes from the interface between brain and the computer, called as BCI. Look at this picture very carefully. Very, very interesting picture. This is a structure of brain. Look at the different area. If you look at the picture here, this side is a frontal area for brain. And then comes, look at parietal area, and just below it, there is an area called as temporal area. Just look at here, different colors have been given. And here, look at occipital lobe, and there are some central area, cortical area. Those areas have not been highlighted. I have just included four major parts, major areas of brain. The front side, frontal lobe, then comes parietal lobe, below it, temporal lobe, and just backside behind it is occipital lobe. I was explaining you about occipital. Look at the occipital lobe carefully. Vision, when you see something, when you visualize something, visual related something, is associated with the occipital lobe. I will give one interesting example. Hope you will love it. When you are in mind wandering stage, what do you mean by mind wandering? Can anybody answer what is mind wandering? When you are attending some lecture, we are doing some work, you're not able to pay attention. Your mind is going somewhere else. You are thinking about something else, somewhere else, something else is mind wandering. So, do you know that? How do we study mind wandering? Mostly from this occipital area. Because whenever you do mind wandering, you visualize something. You are either thinking about some picture, you are thinking about meeting with your friend, you are thinking about some incidents, you are thinking about some event, you are thinking about some place, you are thinking about, your home, your university, or your friend, whatever. So you are visualizing something. And therefore, do you know which part of brain is studied? If you want to study about vision related ability, whether the vision related ability is more, higher, reducing, increasing because of some activities, you need to focus into the occipital area. Then comes, look at here, frontal area. I already explained you motor cortex, motory cortex. So all movement related tasks, motory tasks, all motory tasks are associated with frontal area. And remember, not the completely frontal area. Remember, that also we'll explain when we discuss about the complete brain, EEG, EMG, MEG. The complete part is not responsible for motory tasks. This particular part, look at here, is speech. When you are speaking something, is responsible because of this area, frontal area, association, frontal lobe. There are many more. Only two, three major, brain functionalities have been explained here. There are a lot of functionalities. There are a lot of brain activities that we do every day. Speech is also associated here. And then test, you test something is because of this parietal lobe. And the reading ability you have, you read something, you understand something is because of this particular area. Similarly, temporal, you smell something, you hear something, your auditory, your hearing capability is associated with this particular area called as temporal lobe. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it exciting picture for you? Hopefully the answer is yes. I would be happy that in between sometime you can say something. Otherwise, if you have decided no professor will come to the university, then we'll interact. It's okay for me. I mean, that is also okay for me. But let's not wait for meeting in person. You can uh, uh, in online mode as well. Interrupt, interact, respond, participate in the lecture. All right. So this is what I was trying to tell you about neuron. You see the each neuron. This is the center of the neuron called as nucleus. And if you remember in the previous slide, there was a term called as axon, right? So the two neurons are connected with this. Then synaptic junctions are there. So all these neurons, they are having certain center where neurotransmitters are there in the nucleus. So with the help of neurotransmitters from one neuron to other neuron, they communicate with each other. So those remember how many neurons? How many neurons? Billions of neurons. It is found by studies that 84 to 100 billions of neurons are there in a human brain. So all those neurons are clustered in groups, and every neuron, each and every neuron has a nucleus neurotransmitter. So with the help of that neurotransmitter, one neuron communicates with other neuron, isn't it? So if some stimulus is received by the nucleus. What do you mean by stimulus? You are watching a movie, you are attending my lecture, you are listening to me. That is generating some stimuli. So, a stimulus goes to your nucleus of the neuron through these dendrites. These dendrites are, the connecting points through which stimuli are going inside your brain. It is perceiving and receiving your you know stimuli may be vision, maybe some other stimuli, auditory stimuli, and so on. So the cell body of brain has a nucleus, and dendrites detect stimuli. Look at here, the dendrites are detecting the stimuli that receive the signals from other neurons and send the signal toward the cell body. The single axon joined to the cell body of axon hillock, here somewhere, yeah, here, hillock, right? It transmits signal away from the cell body to other cells, from here to other. Neurotransmitters communicate the signals between the two neurons. So, what do you mean by brain signals? You have seen the brain structure. Yeah, I have included this picture very carefully. Look at the picture. This red color, is the frontal area. Then comes parietal area, and then comes temporal area bottom, and the backside is the occipital area, and this is the structure. And these emitting points inside the brain, what do you understand by those points? You do something, they generate certain energy, they emit certain energy, and that energy is, these are the luminous points inside the brain, and that is what we record as the brain signal. Remember, brain signal is not only the EEG. There are different types of brain signals. We are talking about EEG only. It's not only EEG, but there are many different types of brain signals. So different biomedical modalities, biomedical signals, like using different biomedical devices, because EEG device will be different from other device. So different types of biomedical devices are used to capture EEG, electroencephalography, electrocardiography, magnetoencephalography, and electromyography. EEG is electroencephalography. Electrocardiography is ECG. Of course, that is related not to the heart, that is related not to the brain, but the heart. Magnetoencephalography is related to brain, and electromyography is related to brain. So these are widely used in disease and disorder detection, where these signals are used to detect the disorder. Any disorder is there in the brain, any disability is there in the brain, rehabilitation purpose, and BCI applications for healthcare related usages. What is rehabilitation? You might be thinking, what is this rehabilitation? Because rehabilitation will come in detailed discussion about rehabilitation will probably come in third lecture, third day. Rehabilitation is, say, you have certain disorder. You just compute the difference between ordinary normal human brain and abnormal human brain in that particular part of the brain. Find the difference between the normal brain area and between the abnormal brain area. Means the person who is suffering with certain disorder or disability will have some abnormality, and the person who doesn't have will have a normal area. Find out the difference between the two. An equivalent feedback signal can be given to the person who is suffering with disability or disorder. So this is how, with the help of feedback signal, some rehabilitation as a prevention of disease, as a treatment of a person can be given, called as rehabilitation. EEG is used to find problems related to the electrical activities, because we know that EEG is used to record all the electrical activities of brain by tracking and recording the brain wave patterns. Normal electrical activities in the brain, if there is normal activity in the brain, makes recognizable pattern through EEG, doctor can see the abnormality. So you can have normal activities, you can have abnormal activities, and you can easily detect abnormal activities inside the brain with the help of EEG signal. Now, why I'm talking about EEG again and again and again, I will explain you little later, because there are other MEG is there, PET is there, position emission tomography is there, you know, functional MRI is there. You must have heard about all these things. Functional MRI, CT scan, all these are there. But why I'm always, why I'm talking about EEG most of the time? There is a reason. It is most popularly used, easy to use, cheaper to use, very economical, no risk involved. Lot of advantages are there associated with the EEG, and therefore, EEG is most popularly, most in most of the applications, EEG is used as a brain signal. All right. I hope till this particular point, if you have any thing to ask, you can ask me. Let's have a pause for 1 minute. In you can just ask me if there's something that you just having a pause for 60 to 90 second. In the meantime, you can ask something. Okay, nobody. All right. There is no question. There is no query. So let's go ahead. So the other thing is cognitive ability. What is cognitive ability? The abilities of brain in different parts. Like you see, frontal area is mainly associated with problem solving, creative thinking, personality traits, that how the personality is different from one person to other person. Let us understand, we are talking about cognitive science. It's not like that we are giving more time to BCI. Cognitive science concept is everywhere. When you are saying problem solving, what is this? You are using some part of your brain. You are using some cognitive science concept. It may be psychological or AI, or it may be neuroscience approach. It may be AI approach. It may be your nervous system approach. You are using some part of your brain for you know, demonstrating these abilities: problem solving, creative thinking, personality related. Temporal lobe is related with memories. Brainstem is connected here, and then cerebellum is an area here just below the occipital. Occipital is associated with vision. I have already explained you. And the cerebellum is used to provide balance, coordination between all these functionalities and motor learning. Parietal is related with visual, reading, understanding the language. If you have a better understanding of language, understanding the language, speaking the language, translating the language, it is all because of this parietal lobe, which is there in the brain. So, what are those abilities called as cognitive abilities? Some examples of cognitive abilities may be attention, planning skill, retention, recalling ability, reasoning ability, problem solving ability, and each and every ability of our human brain is associated with a particular part of particular lobe of the human brain, and therefore this cognitive science is of immense importance in different areas, different domains. You can talk about environmental science, you can talk about economy, you can talk about knowledge representation, you can talk about any field of science, engineering, mathematics, and technology. These concepts are used because nowadays your ML has evolved, deep learning has been evolved. And when the moment you call deep learning, it exploits the capabilities of human brain. And the moment you are exploiting the abilities of human brain, the cognitive science concept is coming to the picture. All right. So let's talk about nervous system. We are still covering the BCI part together. Nervous system. The nervous system is basically, you see here, if this is a picture, very interesting picture. Look at here. There is a sensory organ, there is a effector. So from your sensory organs, sensory input is received by the human brain, that is integrated, and then it produces certain motory task, motory output. I have already explained you how does it generate the motory output. When your brain stops you not to move ahead, not to move ahead, you will not move your step. Your brain, it doesn't allow you to speak, you will not move your tongue and you will not move your lips. If your brain doesn't allow you to watch, you'll just close your eyes. So this motory output is produced by this particular brain. So this entire integration, this area is called as central nervous system, called as CNS. It is our nervous system of our brain. Whereas outside the brain, external to the brain, you are performing certain tasks, and that task which is performed is interfaced with the brain, and this interface is called as peripheral nervous system. So there are two types of nervous system: peripheral nervous, peripheral means external, and central nervous system is associated with the brain. So in the peripheral nervous system, sensory neurons detect the stimuli. I have already explained you what do we mean by stimuli. Stimuli can come from ears, other sensors, and motor neurons carry out the effector functions such as muscle contraction. Interneuron carry information to and from the central nervous system, where integration of information takes place. I have already explained you integration of information. I hope you understand. If you receive certain stimuli that you have to do something, then you get a number of input. You may get something from your eyes, you may get something from your ears, and then you combine them, you integrate together inside the brain, and then you conclude certain meaningful information. How do you do that? It is all called as brain computing. So does brain computing take place inside your brain? The answer is yes. But how do we mimic that human brain in the computer? Using the artificial neural network, AI, ML models. And how do we do it? We mimic the human brain with the help of computational models, mathematical algorithms. And when it comes to brain computer interface, those mathematical models are used to interpret the brain signals and generate the appropriate commands. So that is about the nervous system. There are a lot of research, as I talked about. There are a lot of research going on in the area of BCI. brain computer interface. Like there is a picture you can see here, epilepsy is a neurological disorder caused by malfunctioning nerve cells activity in the brain. There are some neurons or nerve cells which are malfunctioning, which are not functioning properly, which are not working properly. These malfunctions cause episodes called as seizures. Seizures episodes, occur in the persons when the person is suffering with epilepsy. You might have heard about Alzheimer, epilepsy, Parkinson, compulsive disorder, and hyper attention disorder. All these are the disorders related with human brain. And I mean, is there any research going on in the area of BCI to solve the problem of epilepsy, Parkinson, to address the challenges? The answer is big yes. So what is the research in BCI? The number one is the disease prediction. Sleep, epilepsy, tumor, Alzheimer disease, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is popularly known as ADHD. Look at attention deficit, lack of attention, hyperactivity. Suddenly, hyperactivities can be performed without paying attention. So, attention deficit hyperactivities disorder called as ADHD, Alzheimer, tumor, brain tumor, epilepsy, sleep. Most of the people these days, especially because of social media age, because of ICT, age, we do not get proper sleep. The sleep quality is badly affected. Is there any cure for poor sleep? Is there any cure for bad sleep? The answer is yes. What is that? What is that remedy? We will discuss in coming lectures. So, disease prediction, disease analysis, to address the disease, to address the difficulties, we use the BCI. And I'm happy to tell you that we have already started working on improving the sleep quality of a person. And there is a lab called as a sleep lab with which I am working. So somebody is sleeping, whether the person is undergoing good sleep, bad sleep or not, we can study with the help of brain computer interface. We'll discuss when we talk about these case studies with the practical examples, that I will get it from my own research in different areas. The study of emotion and cognitive assessment, different abilities of assessment, entertainment and marketing areas, where you can play games with the help of your mind, you can control something, or the emerging areas. Rehabilitation, I have already explained. Robotics, you understand robotics very well, that robotic arms, robotic wheelchairs, robots can be used for different purposes, and you can control those robots with the help of your brain signal to operate something, to operate surgery, to perform certain tasks in the industry, smart manufacturing, in assembly of different parts of car, smart automation, smart IoTs, industry 4.0, and so on. So robotics are finding huge applications of brain computer interface. All right. So why BCI? Prevalence of mental disorder, why it is needed. Now I'm connecting with healthcare, because the title of my course is cognitive science as a concept, brain computer application as an implementation, and where is the application? Healthcare. So I will talk more about healthcare application rather than talking about robotic related application. So the prevalence of mental disorders, stress, manifests primarily during adulthood. The stress is primarily found in adults, mostly in adults, in depression, in terms of depression and anxiety. How do we get disorder, brain disorder? How do we detect stress in terms of depression, in terms of anxiety? It includes depression, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. I believe that you might have heard about this bipolar disorder, intellectual disability, conduct disorder. A person behaves very abnormally. Suddenly person starts behaving, his conduct or her conduct starts, you can see abrupt change or difference in his or her behavior, conduct. And autism, these are the difficulties where BCI is playing a significant role, as a, application of BCI in the healthcare application. All right. So, do you know that depression is, I don't know whether you are aware of this, I have taken from a study. Depression is one of the most prevalent mental health condition in the United States, and it is the leading cause of disability worldwide. There are some studies that suggest depression is the major problem currently in the world. I mean, many people do not demonstrate. Many people just hide it, and just I can say manage it, manage their lives with sustenance. And many people, severely are affected by this stress or depression. In there is a survey in 2022. An estimated 14.8 million adults between 18 or above, and 4.1 million adults aged between 12 to 17 had at least one major depressive episode with severe impairment in the past year. So look at, the situation is alarming, very alarming. So why don't we think, whatever you are doing in your work, you might have decided your PhD topic. Those who are doing master in computer engineering, they can think of, oh, I'm sorry, why why can't we choose a topic related to brain computer interface? Why can't we choose a topic related to cognitive science, where the study of mind plays a pivotal role in the research? Still, those who are doing PhD, they can think that how the study of mind can be, used in their current research, so that it becomes more impactful. So there are challenges, of course, and there are scopes in brain research. It's not very easy, because I have mentioned that brain is the most complex organ of the human body. Therefore, it's not easy. Brain signal is non-stationary. The biggest problem is the signal which we capture, the signal which we acquire is non-stationary and has huge dimension. So large dimensionality is also a problem. But you may answer quickly, no, professor, we do not agree. There is a large amount of dimension, large amount of data, no problem. There are a lot of deep learning models available. There are a lot of libraries which are available, and you can use GPU from the cloud, and then you can handle with the huge amount of data. So that's not a problem, of course. So there are solutions to some of the challenges, but the bigger challenge is the nature of brain signal being non-stationary. I mean, therefore, to extract the information and its efficient or appropriate analysis is needed when you want to carry out some research in the field of brain signals. What is another interesting thing? Let me tell you. Brain signals are affected with psychological, physiological, and technical artifacts. I mean, do you understand the meaning of this? And that need to be removed carefully with a minimum loss of information. For example, I will give one example. Suppose somebody is studying how does my brain undergo mind wandering. I mean, how much I do mind wandering. If a researcher wants to study on me, the researcher will suggest me that do this task. He will give me some task. Look at this picture carefully, concentrate to this picture for 10 minutes, do not blink your eyes, do not move your hands. He will give you, certain protocols, certain guidelines, certain rules. You have to follow these rules, so that I can capture your brain signal carefully, so that your brain speaks, and then I can understand you were trying to pay attention, but your mind was wandering. Please try to understand. But when you start blinking your eyes, when you start abruptly changing your mood, going down, you are not in good mood, unnecessarily you started moving hands and other parts of body. So that generally, when you are capturing brain signal, different types of artifacts which are unwanted signal are also produced with the original brain signal. So these are the challenges. Therefore, what is the statement? Brain signals are affected with psychological, physiological, and technical artifacts that need to be removed carefully with the minimum loss of information. All right. Can you can anybody explain about technical artifact? Anybody? I mean, I think you some of your background is electronics and communication engineering as well. So I will be very happy if some of you can explain about what is technical artifact and how the technical artifact is relevant in a brain computer interface. Yeah, yeah, come on. I today I do not want to keep a separate 30 minutes or 20 minutes for discussion. I just want, you to intervene, you to interrupt me, you to respond me. Otherwise, I will do that from next lecture. And then you can email me also. No, professor, we have decided not to speak, not to respond, not to, be interactive. It's okay. But if you, I think someone, has already attended my course in the past. I think one is there, but I can tell you that this time, probably if you have attended my first time course in year 2021, this time there is a lot of change in the course, a lot of changes you will see in the course. And if you have attended second time, still there will be changes in the course because more alignment is this time is there for brain computer interface. So I think probably you would be in a position to respond to the my question. Technical artifact. Okay, when you are capturing the EEG signal, how do you capture? You need EEG device or any device. And when we are saying that electrical activity, small electrical potentials. I mean, it's very interesting. You might be wondering that how does our brain generate electrical signal? And that is true. Remember, but that amount of electrical signal is very less in millivolts. But still, believe me, that particular signal is generated. So what happens? You are recording electrical signals, and suddenly your equipment, the equipment with the help of that equipment you are capturing EEG signal comes in contact with some magnetic device. Nearby, you have some magnetic field experience, interference. There may be artifact. If there is some problem in your instrument, there might be artifact. That is related to technical artifact. All right. So cognitive assessment is subjective area in real life. To automate this, efficient modeling is required. How much cognitive ability is there in some person? It's a subjective area. Someone can have more, someone can have less, someone can have lesser. It's fairly subjective. And therefore, in order to understand it very properly, you need to use very efficient models, efficient modeling concept. Then only you can understand about cognitive assessment. And I have not yet explained about EEG device. When you use EEG device, you have number of channels. So how many channels? Which proper channel is particularly used? Which is the proper channel? And to reduce the unnecessary data, how much data is needed? Because you get so much of data from different parts of your brain. Which part is more responsible? Which part is more appropriate for this particular application? What may be application? Say you are interested to study about brain tumor, you are interested to study about Alzheimer, you are interested to study about hyper attention disorder. Which part of your brain is to be studied? But unfortunately, you are capturing brain signals from all parts of your brain. Unnecessarily, that the data will be increased, the data load, data size will be increased, and your impact would be affected. And therefore, which particular channel, which particular feature, which part of the brain is very important to understand in the brain research. I have two papers with my PhD scholar. One was published in IEEE Transaction, and two were published in IEEE Journal of IEEE Journal of Sensors. I think IEEE Journal of IEEE Journal of Sensors. Right. So there are two to three papers where this particular challenge, dealing with appropriate channel, dealing with appropriate features, dealing with huge amount of data, have been published in those papers. I'll send you the links of those papers. So optimal feature selection, as I mentioned, there are huge amount of features, huge number of features. When you capture the raw data, you extract the features, which feature is more appropriate. So optimal feature selection from the set of features is challenged to reduce the dimensionality. This is related more to EEG application. So these are some challenges in the brain research. And why I'm talking about the challenges. As a researcher, you would be, or you should be, interested more in knowing about the challenges. Why? Because challenges will help you to write the problem statement. Oh, this is a challenge, a lot needs to be done to deal with this challenge. So let me write a problem statement that I will address this particular challenge. And therefore identification of challenges is important in any area, including the brain research. So there is one more picture, and these are you see here, it's almost repetition. Signal is acquired, signal is pre-processed. I have explained you why signal is pre-processed. Then it goes to feature extraction. Then you classify those features. You go in, to application interface, and then you use for the particular application. And when you want to give as a feedback signal, the feedback signal may be, let us understand. This is very interesting. I am saying that equivalent feedback signal can be given to the brain again. How do you give? Through the same channel, through the same wire? No. How do you give? You can generate some visual stimuli. You can generate some auditory sound, sound signal, equivalent audio, equivalent picture, equivalent light, equivalent intensity, and that you will say, the person to watch, that you will say the person to hear, and that will actually recover the damage of that particular part of the brain. This is what is done in the rehabilitation through the feedback signal. And how do we generate feedback signal? Feedback signal is generated by computing the difference in that particular part of brain between a normal person and an abnormal person. So we'll understand in little more details with the help of, you know some results. So in BCI, we acquire brain signal, we analyze the signal and translate those signals into commands. Where do we translate here? We are generating some control command or signal. We translate them into commands or signals that relay to the output devices to perform certain desired action, desired task, or some feedback signal in rehabilitation application. If you are generating some command, where the command will be used? To operate the robot, to operate the robotic arm, to operate the prosthetic arm, and so on. To operate certain switches, devices inside your home. If somebody is, suffering with disability, and the person wants to control switches, all the, home appliances with his or her brain, it is doable. It is achievable, and it is happening. So there, what do you need? You need to generate certain commands, and that is done by, translating the features into the commands. The BCI, we are talking about brain computer interface again and again. BCI may be invasive, non-invasive, or semi-invasive. What do we understand by invasive? Our EEG, which is most popularly used, is non-invasive. Non-invasive means you do not harm the brain. You just put a cap like, structure over the skull. You do not penetrate. You do not do any surgery. You do not insert any needle inside your brain. When you insert something, when you do some surgery, when you put something inside your brain, inside your skull, that becomes semi invasive or invasive. So, what is non invasive? EEG is non invasive. So, what are those processes? What are those mental actions which are studied with the help of BCI that may be related to attention, how much we pay attention, whether attention ability is reducing because of watching movies for long time, whether attention ability is increasing by doing some meditation, doing some mindfulness practices. Can we study it? The answer is yes. Formation of knowledge, how do we acquire the knowledge, how do we gain knowledge, how do we improve the development of knowledge? Can it be studied? Answer is again yes, with the help of BCI. Memory, how is memory developed? How do we recall? How do we judge? How do we evaluate something? How do we develop that ability to evaluate something? Is it related with the brain functionalities? The answer is again yes. So, can we study? The answer is yes. Reasoning and computation ability, problem solving ability, decision making ability, comprehension of language. You can comprehend, you can understand the language. All these are under mental actions or mental processes that could be easily studied with the help of uh, you know brain machine interface. Now we are uh, using the term brain, we are using the term brain signals. As I mentioned that there are different types of brain signals: EEG, MEG, EMG, ECOG, PET, CT, functional MRI. There are different signals. Let us just understand what do we mean by brain signal with the help of EEG. Because as I mentioned that EEG are very basic signals and popularly used. Otherwise, there are many signals like EEG, electrocardiogram. We will discuss about what is ECOG later. EMG, then MEG. MEG is a magnetoencephalograph, right? Electromorphogram. I think this we have studied. We have seen in the previous slide. Magnetoencephalograph. Talking about EEG, the picture which you can see in this slide is representing EEG. I mean, there are different types of waves, there are different types of signals which are emitted. And if you decompose, I believe everybody is knowing about ECG. When you see the ECG, can anybody explain about ECG? Is the record of your, the pulses, heartbeats, what is called as electrocardiogram. Is it a time series signal? What do you mean by time series signal? It's a nothing but series of some impulses, certain voltages are there. Similarly, EEG is also a time series signal. With a time, just you capture the EEG signal, you are thinking, you are crying, you are laughing, you are changing your mood. Those activities are resulting different amounts of electrical potentials, and those potentials are recorded. And that record is called as EEG, and that EEG is electroencephalograph. It is in the range of 1 hertz to 100 hertz. I repeat, EEG signals are in the range of 1 hertz to 100 hertz. So when you decompose this composite EEG signal, you will get different parts. And what are those different parts? These are the different parts: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. And I have not mentioned the frequency ranges of these components, but you can clearly understand from the picture that the lowest frequency is delta. Look at here. Lowest frequency of, lowest frequency of EEG signal is a component called as delta. Then little higher is theta, little higher is alpha, more is beta, and the highest frequency, look at here, is in the gamma wave. Highest frequency is in the gamma wave. Lowest is in the delta. Can anybody explain that why lowest is in the delta? This is also associated with certain activity, sleep or dreaming. Remember, when you are dreaming, still you are in sleep state. Lot of things you are not doing, lot of activities you are not doing, lot of functionalities brain is not performing. So almost you are at rest state. So therefore, the frequency of signal is very less, but amplitude is relatively higher. When you are dreaming, amplitude is little higher, but still your brain is at rest state, and therefore the frequency is lowest, but amplitude is higher. Theta, drowsiness. When you are feeling some drowsiness, these are just examples. There may be many activities for which theta can be studied. Drowsiness is indicated by theta part of EEG signal. Can we decompose the different waves from the EEG signal? The answer is yes. Inside Python, there is MNE library. Inside MATLAB, there is, EEG library, EEG lab. You go to EEG lab of MATLAB or go to MNE library of Python. Take a EEG signal, decompose them. You will get alpha, beta, gamma, theta separately. I will explain you in next lecture, probably. Or when I come there, I'll bring some, some kind of, Python kind of manual, so that that can help you. Otherwise, if you are good in Python, if you are good in MATLAB, this is nothing. This is nothing but a signal. You have to read the signal inside your computer and extract the features. That's all. Alpha, you see here, when you are in restful reflective state. Beta, when you are busy, your mind is active, beta is generated. When you are in problem solving, or when you are trying to pay attention, gamma. Look at the picture carefully. Highest frequency is generated when you are in problem solving, when you are trying to pay attention, when you are trying to pay attention, when you are when you are solving some complex problem. Highest frequency is generated. So this is how you can differentiate in terms of your brain signal. What are you doing? Whether your problem solving is better than other person, or worse than other person. All these studies can be performed when you have understanding about these brain signals. So brain generally emits brain waves when we perform a task, when we perform an act, because the brain cells, which are called as neurons, interact with each other. I have already explained, by sending and receiving small electrical signals between each other. Brain waves are emitted while performing an action, which are interpreted by the computer with the help of technology called as brain computer interface. This is, a picture giving an idea between invasive and non-invasive. All the three have been included. I think this is the structure of brain. Look at the picture carefully. Scalp. This is a skull. And see, EEG means just over the scalp, you are capturing EEG. It is non-invasive. And in the ECOG, electrocardiogram, what are you doing? Can you see here? Inside the brain, around 10 to 12 mm, please look at carefully here. Something has been inserted. Something has been inserted here. Yeah, yeah. Something has been inserted here. Skull and CSF. Something has been inserted here. Maybe a small chip, and you can capture ECOG. What about the local field potential? LFP is a local field potential. This is, look at here, completely inside. You're almost near the white matter of your brain. So you are inside the brain. So can you explain me in which case you will get more appropriate information? The nearer you reach, the closer you go inside, the better you get the information. More appropriate information you will get. But more risk is involved here. Which is the least risky? Which is the modality where the least amount of risk is involved? That is EEG. Is the EEG useful for all kinds of BCI research? The answer is yes. But if you want to, cure the brain tumor, if you want to understand the brain tumor area, if you want to give the treatment to brain tumor, or very severe brain disorder and disability, probably EEG may not work. In that case, you have to go to ECOG or local field potential, so that the moment you go inside your brain, the better understanding of your neurons you will develop, and therefore you'll have to go inside. So these are the modalities, and you can now understand what do we mean by invasive, what do we mean by non-invasive. So our EEG is non-invasive technique. There is one more term. Look at here, MEG. MEG is also non-invasive. That is magnetoencephalograph. The difference between MEG and EEG is the magnetic field is used here, whereas in EEG, electric field is used here. Electrical recordings are made, whereas here, magnetic field potentials are recorded in case of MEG. But again, there are challenges with MEG, because when you use MEG, any magnetic device or element is there nearby, that will affect the brain signal. So most popular therefore modality is EEG. This gives you, comparison. Here we'll stop today. This gives you a comparison in amongst all the different types of modalities like EEG, MEG, functional MRI. What is functional NIRS? Functional MRI, NIRS is functional near infrared spectroscopy. So when you compare in terms of invasiveness, medical issues, spatial resolution, temporal resolution, what is spatial and temporal resolution? We'll explain in next slide. Portability, recorded signal. This is a comparison. So when you look at EEG, non-invasive, MEG is non-invasive, all these are non-invasive, isn't it? And intracortical is invasive. Intracortical means ECOG is invasive, cortical surface. Spatial resolution is high, very high. Look at, when you want the exact information, where is highest and high? Here. The spatial resolution is very high in case of, because in invasive, you're going inside the brain. Whereas in EEG, it is low, but still we can use this to understand the nature of brain. In MEG, it's medium, F functional MRI high, FNIRS, it is medium. Temporal resolution is high here. EEG, it is very much portable. These EEG devices are coming portable in nature, and even functional NIRS is coming portable in nature, so we can use. What is the type of signal which is captured? In cortical, electrical signal; intracortical, electrical signal; EEG, electrical signal; MEG, magnetic signal; functional MRI, metabolic; and functional NIRS, metabolic. What is this metabolic? Related to blood flow and supply of oxygen inside the brain. We will try to understand what is this metabolic and how the functional MRI and functional NIRS are different from these. We will try to understand in the next class or next lectures. So let me sum up today. Let me conclude today. I mean, you might think that we have discussed a lot about brain signal, we have discussed a lot about EEG signal. That is very much needed, because when we talk about brain computer interface, brain has to be interfaced with computer. So you have to understand brain, and when you want to understand brain, you have to understand brain signal. How much we can understand brain signal? There are a lot of brain signals. There are different types of brain signals. So we can at least have understanding of one or two types of brain signals. And then how do we acquire? How do we convert? How do we convert into feature vectors? How do we classify them? How do we translate them? Comes the next part. And therefore, today, what we have done, we have tried to understand, we have tried to discuss introduction of cognitive science and introduction of brain computer interface. The healthcare is still left, that we'll cover in the next lecture. So next lecture as planned is today, and sorry, tomorrow. And tomorrow, I mean, same time we'll meet. If you have any queries, quickly one or two, then we can take up. Otherwise, we'll close. Anybody? Otherwise, if you want, Professor, we want tomorrow 10 to 15 minutes in the beginning, I'm okay. Whatever you suggest, you can always feel free to write me through email. You can always email me. And now, if you have something to, to clarify, to ask, to understand, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll close. No question? Nobody, no question? Okay. So hope you are, hope you are understanding. Hope you are, gaining some interest in the course. I mean, this at least you can respond. If you are not developing some interest, that also you can say, no, professor. I mean, I did not gain any interest in this particular lecture. Anybody wants to say something? Yeah. No, no. Anybody wants to, respond something? Okay. All right. Then, see you tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Uh,
See you tomorrow.
I'll create a folder and share with all of you. After some time, there I'll put PPT, PDF, and probably after some time, I'll also put a video. All right. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.